Good evening. I hope that this finds you well and it's helpful. So this is the homework for 424 Wednesday night. I'm going to go through the problems and at least set them up for you. So number one, I believe I did it in class, but I'm going to go ahead and go over it again. These are parallelograms, and so the area is equal to base times height. When I look at this parallelogram, I see I have a base of 11 meters, but I don't know the height yet, but I can find it because this is a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. This triangle here will allow me to find the height. This is 5 because this is 5 meters. This is the hypotenuse of a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. The hypotenuse is equal to 2 times the short side. So the short side here will be half of 5. That is going to be this little piece right here, 5 halves. Now to find the long leg, or the height, I take the short side, and the long leg is equal to the short side times the square root of 3. So 5 halves times the square root of 3, and that's the height. Now to find my area, base is 11 meters times 5 halves square root of 3. Being careful to multiply these correctly. I have 11 times 5. This is in the numerator, so that's 55. 55 times the square root of 3. And 1 times 2 is 2. And there's the area, meters squared. The perimeter will just be the distance around the parallelogram. It's 5 plus 11 plus 5 plus 11. So that's 22 plus 10 is 32 meters. Number 2. This parallelogram here has a base of 10, and we don't know the height again. But we can see that this portion of the parallelogram is a 45, 45, 90 degree triangle. Remember, the area is the base times the height of the parallelogram. So it's going to be 10 times whatever that height is. Well, if this hypotenuse is 8, then the height is equal to 8 divided by the square root of 2. If I rationalize that, I get 8 square roots of 2 over 2, which is 4 rad 2. So 10 times 4 rad 2, the base times the height. That's 40 rad 2 centimeters squared, and that's the area for number 2. The perimeter is going, that should be a P. The perimeter is equal to 8 plus 10 plus 8 plus 10, so that's 16 plus 20, that's 36 centimeters. Number 3. This parallelogram is a rectangle. I'm shown that this side here is 5. We could also consider that a height. Remember, the area is equal to the base times the height, or the length times the width. And this diagonal cut across here is 13. I can use the Pythagorean theorem to find the length of this base here. In order to find the area, I need to have this side and this side. So I need to know what that is. Well, I will use the Pythagorean theorem. 5 squared plus x squared equals 13 squared. That's 25 plus x squared equals 169. X squared equals 144. X equals 12. Now I found this missing side. This is the base. This is the height. So 12 times 5 is 60. And that's the area of this parallelogram. The perimeter is going to be 5 plus 5 plus 12 plus 12. So I needed to find the length of this side for two reasons. First, to find the area. Second, I needed to find the distance all the way around. So the Pythagorean theorem helped there. So 24 plus 10 is 34. There's no unit, so we'll just leave it like that. Number 4. Now, of course, this is a parallelogram still, but it's a particular kind of parallelogram. It is a square. All sides are congruent, and we have a right angle here, so it's a parallelogram, and all the angles are right angles. So it is a square, and the perimeter is 24. In order to find a length of a side, remember, area is equal to side times side, or side squared. This side times this side, base times height, side times side. So I know the perimeter is 24. That means that each side is equal to 24 divided by 4. And that's 6. So I know the sides are 6. So my area is going to be 6 times 6, which is 36. I'm also asked, besides the area, I'll put it here too. And that besides the area, I'm also asked to find the length of the diagonal. A diagonal across a square divides it into, this is congruent to this is congruent to this. This is a 45 degree triangle. If the length of this leg is 6, then the length of the hypotenuse is 6 times the square root of 2. So the diagonal is 6 times the square root of 2. Study those 30, 60, 90 formulas and those 45, 45, 90s. Okay, number 5. The area of a parallelogram is 60 square inches. The base is 6. Find the height. Area of a parallelogram is base times height. I'm told that the area is 60, so I can substitute that in for the area, that the base is 6, and I'm asked to find h. So there's an equation that I can solve. I'll just divide both sides by 6, and I get 10 equals h, and that's the height in inches. Whoops. 10 inches. Number 6, we have a square here. The perimeter is 8 square roots of 2. I'm going to go ahead and just draw a little picture. Sometimes it helps. All 4 sides are congruent. So each side is 8 square root of 2. I take the perimeter and divide by 4, and each side will be 2 square roots of 2. 8 divided by 4 is 2 times the square root of 2. So the side is 2 square roots of 2. The area of a square is base times height, or side times side, side squared. 2 square roots of 2 is the length of the side. If I square that, I will get the area. There's a couple ways to do this. I could square the 2, which would be 4, and square the square root of 2, which is 2, and I get 8. Or if it helps, you can write it out. 2 square roots of 2 times 2 square roots of 2, side times side. Then you multiply 2 times 2 is 4, and the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 2, so I get 4 times 2 is equal to 8. So the area is 8. Number 7. Now we're into triangles. Triangles, today we learned, although this was sort of a review, that the area equals 1/2 base times the height, or you could write it as base times height over 2. Here is the triangle. Because it's an obtuse triangle, at least one of the altitudes, this altitude is outside the triangle. So this altitude here, h, is going to be our height. We have a base, 8, and the height to that base is here. So we need to find that, and then we can find the area by multiplying 8 times the height times 1/2. How are we going to find the height? Well, again, we have a triangle shape outside here that we can use. This is a right triangle. This leg is 3. This hypotenuse is 5, so we can solve for h. 3 squared plus h squared equals 5 squared. This is a Pythagorean triple, so h is going to be 4. I'll go ahead and do the math. 9 plus h squared equals 25. H squared equals 16. H equals 4. So I know that h is 4. So on this triangle, I have the height is 4, and the base to that height is just 8. Not the 8 plus 3, just 8. We're trying to find the area of just this triangle. The height falls outside. So 8 times 4 is 32, times a half is 16. So the area is 16. The area of that triangle. 8 times the height times a half. Now the perimeter is 8 plus 5 plus whatever this length is. I'm going to get an extra piece of paper. Can we find the length of this side? And we can, just very carefully, we have to look at this. This length here could be considered the hypotenuse for this big triangle right here. I'm going to highlight that. This side right here is the hypotenuse for this triangle. So I can find the length of this side. Let's call it A. Because A squared is equal to 4 squared plus 11 squared. So A squared is equal to 16 plus 121. A squared is equal to 137. So A is equal to the square root of 137. And I believe that's a prime number. So that cannot be simplified either. I don't believe there's any perfect squares or anything in there. So A equals the square root of 137, and we want to find the perimeter. The perimeter is going to be equal to the square root of 137 plus 4 plus 11. So that's 15 plus the square root of 137. Now remember, subscribe to my channel, and you find any errors, let me know, and you can win a prize or extra credit, something like that. I'm going to stop this video and pick it up on part 2.